with Bollywood actor Saif Ali Khan, whose new movie Bazaar is likely to hit the screen soon enough. I think 26th October is the date of release. And ET Now is, of course, the official business TV partner for the film. This is what he had to say about what drew him to the role, what he thinks about the stock markets, how invested he is in the space, his understanding, and why stock markets are always represented in perhaps a negative light when it comes to films based on the subject.
When the producer Nikhil Advani and I worked together in Kalona, which is also something to do with the stock exchange, actually coincidentally years ago. So he said it's a Gujarati businessman and it's a stock market thriller. So I mean, I was intrigued and I read it, and it really worked for me on very many levels. You don't need to know about the stock market for the film to work, which was the main reason I did it, because I found a lot of Hollywood films also about the stock market, like The Big Short and
did you watch The Big Short?
Yes, I did. Okay. Sometimes a little hard to follow for the uninitiated in that, you know. So I wanted a simpler screenplay in some ways, but at the same time to be factually correct and to have all its bits and pieces in place. And the producers made sure of that, and they got a lot of technical advice, and they made sure that, you know, I've not actually seen a Hindi film like this before, which is the main reason why I was excited to do it. The character excited me, the kind of treatment, the way he speaks and the kind of person he is, which is obviously what we look for as an actor. And the world was fascinating with, all these things happening in the stock market. It's not a particularly simplistic view of it, and there's different ways of looking at it. So, you know, my character looks at things in a slightly different, maybe darker way. So perhaps a little more of a raider in that sense. Right. And whereas, you know, there's many other balanced points of views that are put across.
You know, the thing about movies and stock markets, and this is not just in India, but world over, and you cited the example of The Big Short, is that they always highlight the markets in a sort of a negative light, essentially giving it the profile of a gambling circus. Do you think this film has taken a more balanced approach? Because at the end of the day, as a business news channel, I can vouch for the fact, you know, covering stock markets for the last 12 years, that the markets have made a lot of good wealth, productive wealth for a lot of the investors out there. So is the messaging more balanced?
Absolutely, it's more balanced, and we're not even saying that it's, you know, the stock market is like a gambling thing or something like this. We're just saying that there's certain ethical practices and there's certain unethical practices. So as any good kind of tale, it boils down to whether the protagonist or the guys, whether they cross the line into being bad. Now, however you define bad in whatever movie, it could be, you know, somebody cheating at cricket, or it could be somebody, you know, doing something wrong in any environment. So it's more of a metaphor, the stock market, really, and hopefully an interesting metaphor and something different. And it's also, you know, we're wondering why there hasn't been a good movie on the stock market that's easy to follow, because Bombay and, you know, Dalal Street, I mean, it's got its own crazy financial system and a very strong and old tradition of this. So we've tried to respect that and give a balanced view, of course.
Is this movie about financial fraud? I mean, at the core of it, I know the stock market angle is a strong one, but, you know, one of the journalists, reporters earlier asked you about how some of the big financial scams are always trailed back to the stock markets or the financial system that you alluded to. Do you think that this movie would also just be one of those things where you'll reiterate the fact that this is perhaps a very murky system to work around in?
We're not saying it's a murky system at all. In fact, there's a lot of voices that say it. I mean, it's a brilliantly balanced kind of view in that sense. But to make a story exciting, we would have to concentrate on some murky elements, you know, and we'd have to make it a situation where there would be, I mean, if you think of finance and if you want to tell a story to me or to the layman, you'd have to get some big time fraud involved or some breaking of laws and all insider trading, and all these kind of things are what makes this world watchable.